often to inject the professional soccer ecosystem here in America and the way it's structured. And that is why we have all of these controversies and all of these issues at the youth system. We have all the issues that are being talked about here at the youth system. If we're talking about winning, the pressure to win, the incentive to win, all these development, all that stuff, because the professional level here is closed and monopolized. That is why all of this shit fucking exists. But we don't have to go there now, Ben, if you want to read off more comments.
No. Hey, let's go there now and I'll come back to the comments. But to steal your own words, Gary, from my favorite video, The Problem with Soccer in America. You say that
you should probably play it.
I will. I'll play the video. But you do say there's no incentive for coaches to be great. There's no incentive for players to be great. Why? Because, okay, you look at the top league in America, MLS, winning doesn't fucking matter. You can lose every game and you're still going to be in the league next year. Winning only matters when you make it to the playoffs. But guess what? Oh, we came in last place this year. The team on social media will post, oh, tough season, but we'll bounce back next year. So for the lower levels, if it's a closed system, right? A coach for Strikers FC or Slammers FC, there's no pathway from your club at the bottom to get to the top. So why would you even be incentivized to compete and be great? That's what your thought, because I know you can probably go off for 30 minutes about this topic.
Yeah, and I know it's all about this. The episode's about winning versus development, as if they were two different things. So maybe I won't go off for 3 hours on promotion relegation at the pro level, even though that is the problem, but maybe just to tie it with the winning side of the equation. Well, one, I think you made a good point, right? If at MLS you come in last place and it doesn't matter and you're still in the league in the first division next year, then you can understand and appreciate that the incentive, the drive to win at all levels isn't the same intensity, even remotely the same intensity as it is in other countries. And that develops an entire culture of mediocrity here in the United States. So if the culture at the highest levels, which is what everybody's looking to, Benny, if the culture is a culture of mediocrity, a culture of being soft, a culture of no accountability, a culture of low pressure, all of those sorts of elements, then that culture does trickle down to the lower levels. Of course it does. I mean, the biggest microphones in American soccer, naturally, just like everywhere else, is at the highest levels. They have the biggest media platforms. They have the biggest visibility on television and streaming and on YouTube and on social media. So you are being fed that. And whether you like it or not, you are assimilating a culture of mediocrity and of being a loser, and that winning's not that important. Okay. That aside, since there's no promotion relegation at the professional level, there aren't clubs at every level trying to develop players for their first team. So you coach at a certain youth club, and the fact that I'm even saying, or we say here in America, youth club in quotes, is very telling. Instead of just saying a club, no, we have to say youth club, because guess what? You don't have a first team, an adult team, a pro team. So you have to delineate that. You have to have that distinction there. Everything changes with promotion relegation because you wouldn't necessarily be a youth club. You would just be a club that has a first team. Maybe your first team sucks ass and is in the 5th tier, 6th tier, 8th tier, 10th tier, or whatever it is, but you have a first team. But that changes the dynamics at the youth level already, because guess what? That club is going to have an incentive to develop players for its first team, because it doesn't have the resources or anything to go out and purchase players. No, you got to develop it internally. And then you also have the youth players throughout the structure of that club looking up to the first team and saying, man, it'd be cool if I could play for that team one day. So now all of a sudden the coach and the club itself has more of an incentive alignment for player development. Without that incentive, and it gets even better, right? If your first team is in the 2nd division, imagine if you're in the USL Championship and the champion and the 2nd place team get promoted to MLS, guess what? They're going to go gangbusters doing everything possible to identify youth talent, to identify the best coaches, to identify the best club directors, to identify investors, to identify just everything such that they can earn promotion to the 1st division. And the same goes from the third division to the second division, the fourth division to the third division, and so on and so forth. And it spreads like a weed throughout the country. So you, Benny, as a coach within your club, there is a pathway for you now. What if you are the best coach at your club? You might take over the first team. And again, the first team might not be MLS. It might be in the fourth division or the third division or the second division. But now you've injected an incentive to the coaches in the youth ranks to do awesome work. So that's just a tip of the iceberg talk, Ben. This is volumes of things that can be unpacked and for people to comprehend. And I've said it many times, I've done a terrible job of doing that. And it's frankly because I just don't have the time. If I had the time, I would sit down, take a year or 2 years off and just break it all down for everybody and write a book or write 2 books or create it, do something much, much better than what we've done to this date. But that is the root of it all.
So coaches in Europe or coaches in Latin America where the system is open, they obviously have every incentive to be great, to be the best coach, to have your team win, right? Winning does matter in those systems here, right? Again, we just said it. You can lose every single game and you're still going to be eligible to play next, or you're still going to be in the same league. And so I think you're right, Gary. I think it's kind of trickle down economics. Is that the right way to put it? Right from the top, there's no incentive to compete, to win, right? And so there's complacency that exists within youth soccer in America.